Welcome to the Pull the Chute podcast with Jeff and Jana. This is our weekly venture into the world of small to medium-sized businesses and the entrepreneurial spirit that drives success.
So our goal here is to help you grow and to be the best you can be, both in business and personally. To do that, we identify and we discuss topics that will hopefully help you as you work to build a successful business.
We also interview business owners and executives. It's our hope that you may be able to gain insight on ways to help you be a better leader and provide a better culture for your people.
Our mission here is to help you pull the chute once a week to work on your business instead of always working in your business.
So we hope you find these discussions insightful, helpful, and useful.
And thanks for your support. We hope you enjoy today's podcast.
Well, welcome everyone to the Pull the Chute podcast with Jeff and Jana. We are so excited that you are here today. Jana, how are things today for you?
They're good. You know, it's almost Friday. Woo!
Yeah, right?
Of course, it's going to be a blistering weekend, but
yeah, I know that the temperatures are just absolutely insane right now. And we have to go to Chicago this weekend, and we're there for a whole week. And it's, I'm actually thankful to be in Chicago for a change because it's going to be a little cooler than it's going to be here in Nashville. So,
wow,
it's going to be great. So, hey, Jana, we have a really cool guest today. I'm excited to talk to Ken Rusk. He's with us today. He's the author of Blue Collar Cash, and I want to hear a little bit about that. But Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So Ken, do me a favor. We like to do this because you guys do a much better job than we ever could. Give us a little bit of background about you. Tell our listeners a little bit about you and how you got to where you're at today.
Well, again, thank you for having me. I've been accused of being a blue collar entrepreneur, whatever that is. And I guess, it kind of started quick when I was 15. I had a bunch of odd jobs, and I realized really quickly, really early on, that you could trade labor for something you wanted. Like if I wanted an aluminum baseball bat or a glove or something, I would, okay, $30. I work $2 an hour, 15 hours, I'm going to have it. And it was just kind of a formula that I kept using over and over. The thing is the goals got bigger, the things got bigger, and the money got bigger, right? So, but when I was 15, my high school shared a fence with an industrial park, and that industrial park had a bunch of hustling and bustling businesses. And we used to cut through there through a hole in the fence to get to the carryout after school. And I always wondered what these people did in these businesses, So I wanted my first used car, take my girlfriend out for pizza. I'll be able to go bowling with my buddies, whatever. So I got my first full-time job, and I knocked on one of the doors, and what do you do here? And they said, well, we're ditch diggers. And I said, okay, well, I think I'm wholly qualified to do that. So I spent my summers digging ditches, and then in the wintertime, I'd work in the office after school because it was close and convenient. And I kind of got a pretty good awareness for the front and the back of the house, as they say, the revenue side and the installation side. And so when I was 18, they came to me and they said, hey, I know you're thinking about going to college like every other kid does, although I wasn't. And back then, only 50% of my friends went to college. The rest of them, got into some work in some way. So they said, we want to open franchises around the Midwest, and we want you to help us do that. And I'm 18. I cobbled together a suit, and I went to Chicago and Columbus and Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and opened up these first 4 or 5 franchises of the company that I still work as an owner of the franchise today. And it was a hell of a ride. I had a chance of, it was kind of a fork in the road. Do I go here? Do I go there? But I figured the experience I could have opening other people's businesses with their money, and I don't want to say make mistakes with their money, but that's what happens sometimes, was kind of a mini college in a way for me anyway. So it worked out pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah, I love that. I love the energy at that age to do that, and the belief in you at that age for them to bring you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was neat because just like anything in life, I had an example of what it was supposed to look like because I had worked there. So I knew that if I could repeat what I was working in these other cities, that it would do well for me. And I did that for 4 or 5 years maybe, and then I got tired of living out of a suitcase, and I moved to Northwest Ohio and started my own company with 6 people back in 1986, and I think we have 200 some people today. So it's been a heck of a ride for sure.
That is crazy. And so, what does the business actually do? You start out by ditch digging, but is it still doing that?
Yeah. So if anything to do with the basement, a foundation, a ditch, anything that needs water drained away from it is what we do. We dig a lot of ditches. I mean, we have a lot of people doing it, a lot of people out there doing it every day. And, we improve people's lives by making their basements and their crawl spaces a lot more healthy to be around. You get rid of the mold and the mildew and all that kind of stuff, and let people breathe a little easier in their house. So it's like a whole house thing where we clean up the air, we clean up the basement, clean up everything,
awesome.
and make sure it functions properly.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. And so you wrote a book called Blue Collar Cash, but I love the subtitle, which is Love Your Work, Secure Your Future, and Find Happiness for Life. That is a great subtitle.
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you. It came out of kind of nowhere. When my daughter was 12, she got cancer. She got a pretty serious illness, and there was a pretty scary 5 years for her mother and I, and obviously for her. And I just remember I had hired so many people by that point that I could kind of see what people were going through in getting started in their lifetime. So I became almost an involuntary life coach. I have no training, no letters after my name. I mean, nothing. And I was taking people through their first driver's license, their first credit card, their first apartment, their first car, whatever, helping them get going on that, and then helping them to see beyond just Friday. And so when Nicole got sick, I remember, you're in oncology rooms and hospital rooms, and you're in surgery rooms, and you're in all these places, and you have a lot of time to wait and a lot of time to think. So I thought, well, what would I tell her if I could write a letter to her? What would I tell her? So I started writing this letter to her about what I thought she should be chasing in life. What should she anticipate as her perfect nirvana? And so the words comfort, peace, and freedom just kept showing up, and I started seeing them like yellow Volkswagens. I saw them everywhere, and I just thought that was something that needed to be in it. So I started writing the book about what I think everyone should chase in life. And then I coupled that with a bunch of blue collar stories of friends of mine who went through the most amazingly horrible situations, but came out the other side, just like Nicole, and thrived. And so between the coaching, Nicole, and some friends of mine, this all kind of came together in a book. I didn't even know I was writing a book. I mean, I never woke up and said, hey, I'm going to write a book today.
Right.
It's just kind of like consummated story after story. And then pretty soon my wife said, I think you got a book there. And then one thing led to another. It became a bestseller. And, again, very grateful and very blessed.
So a Wall Street Journal best-selling book. And when did you launch it?
I launched it. It's funny because I launched it in the middle of COVID, which was the worst time to launch a book.
Yeah.
But then,
or not, because people have things nothing.
Yeah, or not. Retail and everything was kind of tough, right? But then they kind of relaunched it a year later, which was last year, and then it became a bestseller at that point, which is really cool.
So what are the 3 or 4 top concepts in it, Ken, like that you can tell our listeners? Give us the high points, like just, kind of subjects that people can ponder.
Well, first off, everyone wants to lead these reactionary lives where, we react to everything. We react to the news, we react to the day, we react to our schedule, we react to the weather, what we're wearing. We react to all these things, and it really takes away from our ability to proact and to dream and to hope and to wish and to plan and to pathway those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get people back to, I don't care what you do for a living, even though the book's called Blue Collar Cash. I want to know why you're doing it. So can we spend a lot of time using the brain, the part of your brain that no one teaches you how to use? Can we teach can we look at the visionary side? And I know you hear that word vision all the time, but it never gets down to the actual brass tacks, the grassroots of what vision really, really means. And it's basically taking pictures that float around in your head and putting them down in a place that you can see them every single day, so that you can use the power of your brain to attract itself to those things, because that power is more powerful than any other part of your brain, and nobody uses it. So for me, it's all about, everything, what your perfect nirvana might be, and everyone's isn't the same. You know what your favorite house, your favorite car, your favorite vacation, your favorite charity moment, your favorite spiritual moment, your favorite exercise, your favorite sport, your favorite hobby, your favorite vacation, your favorite dog or pet or cat or pet, whatever it might be. Why are we letting everybody else influence what our life should look like? We have the power to do that ourselves. So use the power of your brain that no one teaches you because it's free and it requires no training, and start allowing that power to drag you along to a place that you want to live, your perfect comfort, peace, and freedom level, or your perfect nirvana, whatever that is.
I love that. That is amazing.
Yes.
Really, really cool. And it's like you said, it's an area of your brain that probably gets under, because we do let people influence us way too much, right? Our choices are our choices, and we got to remember that sometimes. So I
Well,
think,
and I also think we have gotten into a habit of learning and absorbing information so quickly. Like we never sit and just think about or feel how we feel about something, information. It's just like we absorb it and then it's on to the next thing and we absorb it and absorb it because information is hitting us at such a rapid pace now compared to, 20, 25 years ago. So there is
That's exactly right. That is 100% correct. And I think people need to understand that not only does information hit us, but we're constantly reacting to it. I
yes.
wish I looked like him, or I wish I was as tall as her, or I wish I was smart. I mean, whatever. I wish I had that makeup, or I mean, it's all reactions to other things. And I'm saying, turn that off, throw that away for a second. You and only you know what your best lived life could be. So why let all these other influences ruin that for you? I mean, if you think about it, you have to start out with, I don't want to say the end of your life in mind, but you have to start out with the end game, which is what are you after?
Hmm.
And most people lead this if then scenario. If I go to high school, if I get good grades, if I go to college, if I get a scholarship, if I get a degree, and then if that degree finds me a job that makes me money, then I can live my life. Well, why wait until all that maybe happens? I want you to start with the then first. It's no different than a puzzle. I mean, if I dumped 1,000-piece puzzle on your table and I walked away with the box, you're in trouble. Okay. You
Yeah.
got no chance of putting that puzzle together unless maybe you were in prison and it took you 20 years, you'd finally get there. Right. But the puzzle box is what I'm wanting you to create, because when you put these pieces together called your life, you are constantly staring at that box thousands of times that you don't even realize you're looking at the box, you're looking at the pieces, you're doing it thousands of times. Why don't we live our life that way, where we come up with this nirvana that we will, man, if I could live like that,
mm-hmm.
that would be so cool. And then constantly look at that thing and allow that, whether you want to call it reticular activating systems or a law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, allow that power to drag you there, because it will. And it has for me my whole life.
That's right. So there's this great equation. It's E plus R equals O. The event plus the reaction equals the outcome. It's exactly what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And so many times when I'm working with clients, it's understanding that reaction. How are you going to react? We all have events in our life. It's how you react. You add your reaction to that. That's going to be your outcome. So if we can alter those reactions, which is basically what you were just describing, is, hey, we know what we like. We know, what our favorites are, dogs and cats and sports. Those need to be some of those reactions, so that these outcomes are a little more in our favor for things that we want to do. I love it.
Yeah. And the cool thing about that is that once you understand that, okay, I've got this picture, now I can build these little mini pathways to the completion of each one of those things. Because without a pathway, a goal remains a hope, a wish, or a dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it is to do all those three things. It's fun, but nothing ever happens, right? So once you start creating these pathways, you build this enormous amount of confidence that, you're anticipating many pathways completing themselves at different times. One might be 6 months, one might be 6 years, one might be 16 years. But you're anticipating these pathways completing themselves. And all you have to do is kind of show up and it's going to happen, right?
Right.
Because of the power of that. So just like you anticipate a vacation, which we're all professionals at anticipating a vacation. Why aren't we anticipating all the other aspects of our life? Because it's like I said, it's free. It's right there in front of us. And the power of it is just amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, before we jumped on the podcast, you were talking about the fact that you built a course around the book. So tell us a little bit about that and how you came to that.
Well, I've seen a lot of people that in the backgrounds of the podcast, I think you're number 270 that I've done, and which is awesome. I love it. It's fun. But a lot of times you'll see people, they have all these books behind them, and they're very well read, and sometimes I think to myself, well, how did that book help you exactly? Like, what did you use in that particular book that made your life better? And maybe sometimes they can't answer that question, but they still thought it was a good book.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that didn't sit right with me. I wanted people to say, I read Ken's book, and because of this course, I'm going to change my life like this afternoon. Okay, not tomorrow, not next month. And so I have a lot of plug and play things in this course, which just teaches you how to take the knowledge you got from the book and put it into your own actual life. And again, it's real simple stuff. In one section, I have you take a poster board and a good old fashioned box of 64 Crayola crayons
Mm-hmm.
and just start drawing what you want your life to look like. Just put it out there. Because I was interviewing Jarek Robbins, who's the son of Tony Robbins. Tony did a little thing for my book, and it was amazing the way he explained it, that, RAS or the law of attraction is actually a scientific thing that your brain goes through. And the way he explained it, I might butcher this a little bit, but he said, basically, when you think of something long enough, hard enough, when you see something often enough, these little electrons in your brain start to fire. And the more you focus on that thing, the more they fire, the closer they get to where it becomes almost one stream of thought, one constant stream of thought. And then that kicks your body into this automatic, awareness of how to go get that thing and bring it into your life. If that's true, then most people don't know how much they are in control of their outcome, and how getting to where they want to be is just a matter of the focus change, right? If that's true, that is something that I would insist that we start teaching to 7, 8, 9-year-olds, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, so that, if you think about it, with just a few clicks in a different direction, we could eliminate Social Security and things like that, the dependency, because people wait too late to start thinking that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's really amazing, the power of that stuff. And I just wish we could teach it more often and more early.
I absolutely agree with that, Ken, because a lot of what I have studied in being a communication person is those formative years from 3 to 13, where that time is where we learn all of our programming and all of our how we absorb information, whether it's audible, tactile, visual, whatever the sense is that absorbs it, and how it's stored. And we, again, it's almost like as we get older, we get stupider about it, or more stupider, or we don't give ourselves the break that that young formative time frame allows us to take the time to visualize. I've heard so many people say, when I started meditating, my life just kind of fell into place, which is a big really way to visualize. You meditate on what you want. Yes, you're meditating also on a mantra or something that you're repeating, but what it's doing is it's taking your body kind of back down to ground zero, where you're thinking about the things that matter in your life and the things that you want in your life in a subconscious way. So it's kind of freeing the subconscious. And we talk about that a lot in, when you study acting or any kind of a performing art, a lot of it is calling up your subconscious and times that you had this emotion, so that then you can use it in, on camera or in a play or whatever, or in a song. But it's almost like we desensitize ourselves as we get older. And the sad thing is the younger generation is even worse because of all this social media and all this learning things, or having so much information thrown at them. And they're making these decisions within 2 seconds instead of 5, like we used to,
Well, yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, because, some people, when I talk about the fact that, I want you to open up a box of crayons when you're 30 years old or 35 or 40 or 50, whatever, some people are like, okay, crayons, adults. I'm like, yeah, I get what you're thinking, but the last time you held a crayon in your hand was probably when you were 4 or 5 years old.
Mhm.
And that's probably the last time that you were at your most creative, stress-free, clear-minded moment where you could draw a rocket or a horse or a sunrise or anything, and you had none of these filters that you had to work through or stressors that you had to move to the side in order to get that creativity. So just the fact that you pull the crayon out and you smell the box, I mean, you smell that, it will take you back to that time. It does for me. So, and then, will people, well, you know what, maybe I'm not the best drawer. Okay, fine. Well, then get the concept down and then start a Pinterest page, something you can stare at constantly. But the things have to be almost exactly what you want, because they can't just be examples of what you want. I mean, whatever you have to do to get this in front of you, why are we not using the same power that people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and Stephen Jobs, all these people are using that power? And they probably know it now, but when they first started, they didn't know it. They were just using the visual side of their brain.
Mhm.
Why not create wholly independent, problem solving, financially savvy, wonderfully goal driven, solid individuals just through the power of something simple like that?
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy, because we could really change an entire generation just by having them see it and
Yes.
then go get it.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it.
Very interesting.
Ken, thank you so much. Blue Collar Cash is the name of the book. Love your work, secure your future, and find happiness for life. I love that subtitle. I'll say it again. But I love what you're doing. I love your passion. Love how you're going about this. If people want to get a hold of you, Ken, how can they do that?
Just go to kenrusk.com. And one thing I'll mention is the course. I've seen courses for $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Nope, that's not what this is about. It's $179. You get a free book with it. And I donate that money to the troops to help them learn and to help them come out with careers post-service. So yeah, if you're helping yourself out, you're helping somebody else at the same time.
That's great. Great, great, great.
Well, again, Ken, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. To all our listeners, as always, Jan and I just appreciate the emails that you send in and the comments and the questions. So keep those coming. Until the next time that we talk, stay safe and be healthy.